You are listening to the Baobab Project. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us under the Baobab tree from wherever you are in the world today. We are joining you from Halifax, Nova Scotia. We've got so much to explore, from culture to lifestyle to health, relationships, education, and so much more. Now over to our podcast host for today.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome onto the Baobab Tree. We have in our presence here Faisal, we have Naomi, we have Mary, and myself, and we will have someone else joining us relatively soon. His name is Dwayne. But what we want to do today is explore soul food, a taste of home, and just to get an understanding of what foods we eat as people of African ancestry, where we get our foods from, and just to share this knowledge with the wider community in terms of giving them the ideas and of where to source ingredients, where to find the restaurants that we eat from. And also this will be quite useful for our students who are coming back as international students and wanting to find familiar foods. We know where to find those foods. At least we have a Mary in our presence who is an excellent chef in Halifax here, and very shortly we will have Dwayne, who is also an excellent chef and both parties own restaurants. But then we have Faisal, Naomi, and Brianna, who are students and are ready to engage in this conversation. So today, under this Baobab tree, we will have a fun discussion about food. And I can see the smiles on your faces already because I heard food makes me happy. All right, so let's relax and enjoy and have a beautiful discussion. So as we begin this discussion, so why don't I ask you all to introduce yourselves and just tell the audience what perspective you bring, maybe what country you're coming from, and then we'll move forward from there. I'll start with Mary.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary. I run Mary's African Cuisine in Halifax downtown on Barrington Street, and I'm from Ghana.
Hi, my name is Faisal. I'm from Sudan. I'm a student in Mount St. Vincent. I'm in my third year.
And Naomi.
Hi, my name is Naomi. I am Nigerian, but I grew up in Ghana. I just graduated from the Mount in May. And yeah, it's basically about me.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I'm from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, though I was born in St. Lucia, and I am going to be in my second year in September.
Thank you all. So let's start with this beautiful question. We want to talk about national dishes. If you don't remember your national dish, it's all right. I'm not putting anyone on the spot. And what I want you to remember as well today is that you are not representing your country, you're not representing a culture, so please feel free to talk food the way you experience it in your house. So if you remember your national dish, just tell me what that is and talk about it. If it makes you excited, just talk about it. I'll share first, and then I'll ask Naomi, Faisal, then Brianna, and Mary. You might have a lot more to share with us, and I think afterwards in terms of national dish. Ours is pepper pot, and by the nature of the name alone, it sounds hot. Well, pepper pot is a really lovely dish. If you are viewing this, you can see the drools coming down my mouth just thinking about pepper pot. It is a really, it has a really unique taste, and it comes from the southern part of the Americas, and it is one of the natives dish that was brought to us. So I think overall, when we think of this food, it looks more like a soup to a lot of people, but includes a lot of meat, a lot of bones, and a lot of flavors. Naomi, tell us about your national dish.
Well, the thing is, in Nigeria, we have different, states, and every state is different. So I would personally say that from my state, which is River State, our national dish would be roasted yam. It's called bole, but it's roasted yam, roasted plantain, and fried fish. And that's specifically to the state in which I am from.
And your turn, Faisal.
For us, we have different foods. We have foods like something called acid. It's basically flour, and then they add more sauce to it. You can eat it whenever you're in a hurry, for example. And then we have chicken, of course. Chicken is one of the main foods that we eat in our culture.
All right, and Brianna will share hers with us.
So in St. Vincent, we eat roasted breadfruit and fried jackfish as our national dish. I cannot recall for St. Lucia, which is very bad because I was born in St. Lucia. But I think it's something along the lines of green fig, which is like green bananas, and saltfish. I cannot recall. Please don't crucify me, guys.
Mary, you can share now.
Okay, so with me, from where I am coming from, we have so many regions and everyone and its dish. But where I am from, originally along the coast of Ghana, mine is banku and fish stew, which is the fish. We cook it in so many ways. It can be fried, it can be steamed with hot pepper sauce, or it can be in soup. Yeah. But apart from that, Ghana, we have so many. Each region has its own, let's say, national dish.
All right. Thank you all. Well, we've just done the most difficult part of this podcast, talked about someone else's vision of a meal that makes a country. Now we're going to narrow it into what makes you happy at home. Your soul food doesn't necessarily have to be the dish that you eat at home, or sorry, the dish that your country identifies as a their country's national dish. So I'll go around the table, this virtual table, and ask you to just randomly just tell me what makes up a soul food for you, or what is a soul food to you, and why do you identify that as a soul food? I'm not going to call names. If you just turn your mic on when you see one is turned off, and go for it. We'll start with Brianna since her mic is turned on.
All right. So when I think of soul food, I think of all foods because food does make me happy. And I see that Randy quoted me in the beginning because I was trying to explain to him that food does make some people happy, and I am some people. My soul food, my ultimate soul food would be igusi soup and poundo. And that's because I grew up in a place where I did have the Nigerian influence on me, and I fell in love with the food. No matter what else I eat, no matter what else I compare it to, it's what makes me happiest. And I'm not Nigerian in roots, I'm not Nigerian by birth, but it's just something that it makes my soul light up. It makes me happy, and that would be my soul food.
Faisal, you want to share now, please?
Well, for me, I would say my soul food is shawarma, of course, because like wherever I go, there's different shawarmas. If you go to Pakistan, there's different shawarma with tikka. If you go to Sudan, it's different. And if you go for Syria, for example, it's different. So I like trying different foods as well. So yeah.
All right, Mary, you want to tell us about yours?
Well, mine is called ampesi, and ampesi is basically made with either plantain or yam or cassava, and we just make a very simple sauce with it. The sauce is just eggplant, peanuts, and salt and pepper and onions. That's it. And that is my soul food.
And Naomi, could you share, please?
My soul food would be between jollof rice and wachi. Jollof rice because it's easier for me. It's one of the easiest things that I make at home, and wachi because I love wachi. And I recently had some from Auntie Mary, and it's chef kiss. So, yeah, that's mine. It's between jollof and wachi. I don't know how to make wachi personally, so I always get from Auntie Mary's. But jollof is something that I do at home almost every time.
All right, thank you all. And again, if you're listening and joining us for the first time, we just wanna let you know that you're under the baobab tree, and we're exploring soul food, a taste from home. And here with us, we have Naomi, we have Faisal, we have Brianna, we have Mary, and now Dwayne has joined us. And our question that we just talked about, Dwayne, is soul food. And what is your soul food? And why do you enjoy that food? We also talked about that soul food doesn't necessarily have to be your country's dish. So we just want to hear from you, Dwayne. What is your soul food?
Well, I share a taste of the island, as our tagline says. But according to my son, it's home already. So I share Jamaican food. I share Jamaica in all of its facets as much as I can from a plate. Almost as good as Mary shares Africa.
All right. So thank you for that, Dwayne. Now, what I want to look at now is these soul food. They mean a lot to us, but finding the ingredients to these foods is sometimes some of the most difficult things to do. I just think of when I walk into our local stores and I see Karaila on the shelves, how excited I get. And then someone else will look back and say, what is Karaila? And another person who knows what Karaila is would say, why would that be your soul food? It's the most awful tasting food that they can ever have out there. But, finding these ingredients makes me as excited as when Brianna sees the food on her plate ready to eat. Could you jump in? You can all jump in and tell me about how difficult it is to find these ingredients that you are looking to make your soul food. We got you on the go there, Mary. You can go ahead.
Okay. Well, so I'll tell a bit about when I moved here in Halifax and starting up the restaurant. I find like with Mary, everything that I do, I make sure I make it authentically, just like the way it's being done at home. So when I moved here at that time, it's hard to find some of the ingredients. So some of my customers will testify. I started with stuff that are like easy. You can easy find them here. Until recently, it's like Halifax, you can get anything that you want, right? So I started adding up stuff because I can cook it exactly just like home. And like I said before, it's hard to find, but now it's not hard to find in Halifax. So it makes everything easier a little bit now.
All right, thanks, Mary. And Dwayne, from your perspective, from the Caribbean perspective, how difficult it is to find the items for your soul food. And I'm thinking you have so many people come into your location for these mouth-watering foods that are soul food to them, and your task of finding the ingredients, the exact thing for them. How difficult it is to find those.
It's pretty much the same as Mary said. Before Halifax made such an attempt to become more diverse, it was a challenge. And even now, it's a bit different in that, yeah, we can still find stuff coming in as the shelves. The grocery stores are now stocking up on stuff from our island. However, what I find is that they tend to go towards the cheaper brands so that they can make more money. And so most of these things are super commercialized. So what I do, I have my family back home make packages of spices and herbs and send directly to us, which is a very expensive way to operate. But Jamaicans take their food seriously. There are some stuff that you'll get on the grocery store shelf that looks like home, but the real Jamaican will know that that's not it. So we in every single month we got a big fat bill for spices coming in. That's how we keep our thing authentic from our
That's
side.
awesome. That's awesome, Dwayne. Recognizing what's in your food is really important. And, you know, when I come to an authentic Jamaican restaurant to eat, I don't want to taste the same thing I taste when I go to an authentic Canadian restaurant. So this is really good to know. And similarly, when I go to an authentic African restaurant, I want to have a taste of Africa. So it's really good to know that you take the time to source those dishes. So what about us who are cooking at home and want to know, I want to know where do you source your food and how difficult your ingredients and how difficult it is to find those ingredients. How about you, Naomi?
Well, in the beginning, when I came to Halifax in 2015, well, on campus, we were not allowed to necessarily cook. But when I moved out in 2016, the only thing that I could cook that the recipe was kind of readily available to me was jollof rice because it's kind of simple. It's tomato paste, and all of that. But when it comes to cooking like soups and all, it was hard because there weren't any stores catering for those needs. It's just recently that we have, to my knowledge, we have two African stores. One is Calisimbi and the other one is Flangers. And these are the two stores that recently just came up and have seasoning and spice and ingredients that cater to specific African dishes. So I would say the same thing with Auntie Mary. I'll say the same thing with Auntie Mary. In the beginning, it was kind of hard because there was no stores that were catering to what we needed to cook our dishes. But now it's a little bit easier because then we have stores that have opened up that's specifically just African food. So it's African spice, African meat, African chicken. Like it's much easier now to cook than it was 3-4 years ago.
Thanks, Naomi. And Faisal, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm good actually.
All right, Brianna will add to that then.
So I cook and I love to cook, but I don't necessarily always cook foods from home. When I do try though, it is very difficult because since I've come to Halifax, it's been 2 months and 2 days since I've been here officially, and I've not seen one breadfruit yet. And even though it is a part of our national dish, yes, that's not why I love it. I love it because it's a food that also makes me happy. And I haven't seen breadfruit. I haven't seen okras. Chicken is expensive. Like on a student budget, it's hard to look for foods that will make me feel closer to home. So I do find myself gravitating more towards the Canadian sort of eating.
Mm. So I'm going to ask the chefs, the people who are in the kitchen feeding us on a daily basis, Dwayne and Mary, to tell us some of these foods that you cook and who your customers are, where are they coming from? What excites your customers to come back again? So, Mary, can we start with you on that one? Well, Dwayne, can you take that question then? Just tell us who are your customers and how do they hear about you? What excites them to come back?
So our customers, technically everybody, it depends on the day, to be honest. As in the name suggests, soul food. It depends on how people wake up and their soul feels. So there are times when our clientele is predominantly Canadians, Caucasian Canadians. There are times, depends on the day. Like on our weekend Fridays and Saturdays, our clientele is mostly Caribbean people from out of town. They come from everywhere because, of course, we do other stuff other than just doing food. So they find us. How do we keep them? I don't want to sound weird, but brand Jamaica in and of itself, Jamaican food is something that is noted globally. Jamaica, you can find a Jamaican restaurant. Prior to me coming to Halifax, this was one of the only places I've lived that I didn't see an authentic Jamaican restaurant. And I've lived in a few major cities and small towns. But people do know what Jamaican food is. So we are at an advantage in that it already is out there. They're just looking for it. For me, what keeps them coming back is the fact that we try to keep it home. I give you as an example. A couple years ago, I hired a couple professional Jamaican chefs who went all commercial on the kitchen, and we did get a significant hit. People are like, "That's not it. That doesn't taste like home. It's Jamaican. We know it's Jamaican, but it's missing that little granny touch." So for us, we keep granny touch in our pot, and people love it.
All right, we're gonna come right back to that granny touch really soon because that's a very important piece. We will touch on that. That's important. Mary, are you there with us? Do you want to talk about your customers, who they are, and why they keep coming back? I think we've lost Mary there. Hopefully, she's back very shortly. I like this piece that you mentioned, Dwayne, the granny touch piece, and I'll start by asking Naomi the question, and then I'll end with you, Dwayne, because this question affects all of us. Recipes and ingredients, right? Where do you find where do you find the ingredients for your recipes, and how do you use these recipes for your food? Where did you find them from? How you use these recipes, if you do use them, and just give us a little hint as to what you put in your soul food. I'll start by, before I introduce Naomi on this one, I'll just say for pepper pot, it is a food filled of leftover meat from Christmas. So all the bones that you didn't put, the ham bones that you couldn't eat at the Christmas table, you put all of those in a pot, you put some castor on it, and then you just soak that up and in eating, right? Now, when I came to Canada and became a vegetarian or a pescatarian, then I can no longer eat all of those meats. And all of a sudden, I have to find a different ingredient, which became fish. And I had to learn to cook my pepper pot with fish because I can't leave my traditional meal, Christmas meal, off the table on Christmas. So Naomi, can you tell us about your ingredients and where you find them from, and tell us some of the things you put in your main food, your soul food, and in terms of measurements and those kinds of things.
So, as I had mentioned earlier, most of the ingredients that I get are from the African stores. So, like Kalsimbi, which is, I want to say, like 15 or 20 minutes away from my house with a bus, and then Flangers, which is all the way in Herring Cove. I get most of my ingredients from there. So if I want to make something like, as Bree said, if I wanted to make egusi soup, I get my egusi from Kalisimbi. I get my stockfish from Kalisimbi. I get my snail from Flangers. There's something called periwinkles. We put that in soup also. I get that from Flangers. I get my crayfish from Kalisimbi. I get my dry catfish from Kalisimbi or Flangers. And I get some beef from them too because their beef bigger than the ones they sell in the store. And it looks like the one that we used to use back at home. So I get that from them too. And when it comes to measurements, to be honest, I put, like, if I'm putting like Maggi or I don't know, salt in anything I'm cooking, I literally just wait for the whispers of my forefathers to tell me to stop, and then I stop. I don't necessarily have a measurement personally for my seasoning. I measure as I go. I put, and if I think I need more, then I add a little bit more just to taste it. So I measure as I taste. So if it doesn't taste good, then I add some more seasoning to it to get to the taste that I want it to get to. But when it comes to like a measurement, I don't think I have. The only thing that I measure is rice when I want to cook a jollof or boiled rice, and I have to measure it because it has to fit the pot. But apart from that, I don't necessarily have measurement for my seasonings.
Awesome. Faisal, you want to tell us about where you source your ingredients from and some of your ingredients from and the measurements you use?
Sure. I'm not the best cook, frankly, but what I would do is like I would test different seasonings for now, since just like Dwayne said earlier, that seasonings and products over here are very commercialized, I would say. Sometimes if I'm stuck somewhere while I'm cooking, I would just be on the call with my mother, since she's the best cook, I believe, in my eyes. And she would just give me advice on what to do. I've been discovering different places, like for shawarma and stuff. I've tried Meza the other day, and I think it's nice, but I think there are better places to discover in Halifax.
Thanks. And see, Mary, you have your hands up and you might have some questions for us.
Yeah, I think you asked a question about which customers do we have in and stuff, but my line was really bad, so I couldn't answer.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'll ask that question again, and then we can to that one. So I just wanted to know where your customers came from and what brings them back to you. And while you're doing that, maybe just chime in with the ingredients that you use. Some of your ingredients. I don't want you to tell us your restaurant secrets.
Yeah.
Tell us some of the ingredients and how you do your measurements. Um, I'm just looking for some commonalities here, and then I'll wrap it up with Dwayne because he just mentioned a really nice point here. Go ahead.
Okay, so with me, what I do is like I have my place named African Cuisine, right? And Africa is consists of a lot of countries, right? And I am from one of them. But what I do is I cook from different places. So, for instance, if you come and you are from Jamaica or any other place and you buy from me, what I do hear customers saying, maybe like they are from East Africa or something, they say, "Oh my gosh, it reminds me of my mom's cooking." Then after I will ask them, is there anything in particular that maybe next time you would like to see? They tell me, or they tell me, "Oh Mary, I want this. I want for like a week," and I do it for them. And then also with my ingredients, what I want people also to know is that I am not just a cook. I am a food person, and I search into things. There are a lot of spices I used. I make them myself. I see myself here now in Halifax. We have everything we need here. And the spices and the seasonings that we use is up to you the way you mix them up. You blend them up to get exact taste that you want. It's true that the stuff that we get here are commercialized, so they don't do it well and stuff. But what I would say is that if you buy a spices that is already mixed and stuff, you won't get a good quality. But if you buy like the raw ones and then you blend them up together yourself, you will still have the authentic taste that you get from home. So that is what I do. It's only few things that I don't get it from here that I let them ship in for me. But apart from that, like one of our sisters said that she gets her stuff from Flanger and Kalisimbe. I do the same. And also I do get stuff from Imbujumaya. I think 10 or 14 years ago when I moved here, she was the only African place here. And she has really, really helped us through. So that is what I have to say.
All right, thank you. I'm going to have Brianna jump in here, and then I'll get Dwayne to wrap this part up when I ask him this question again.
I'm adding on to what Naomi said. She feels the food through her ancestors, and what my grandmother put into my head is that I should feel the food through my soul. Okay, you don't measure the seasoning, you don't go and get this cup and then one cup. No, we don't do that. You just pour, and then your mind, it's like your body just automatically knows when to stop. What I did not like upon arriving in Halifax, though, is it is very hard to source table salt. That's the white salt. Sometimes it's iodized, sometimes it's not iodized. It's a simple ingredient, but it goes a long way. So I've actually now been subject to cooking with garlic salt, which isn't as bad, but it just doesn't give the food the flavor that I'm accustomed to. But either way, I still don't measure. I just go with what I feel, and my food always comes out good every time.
Perfect. And Dwayne, you can tell us about this granny touch that you mentioned earlier. What makes your customers know that, hey, this is not what home tastes like? I want the food that we taste from home. And how do you get that touch, that granny touch, Dwayne?
So I give you a little secret. Our rice, for instance, that's our main side. If you go to Jamaica, street food is a thing. You have 20 different people selling side by side, all have the same ingredients, but 20 different tastes coming out. So a lot of it has to do with your soul. Just as I forgot what's her name, just said, when the ancestors say stop, you stop and pour. I always say, if you walk into a Jamaican kitchen and you see somebody cooking from a recipe book, just find an excuse to go home. Don't eat because they don't know what they're doing. The challenge I find with that though, for instance, now I got multiple locations. I got 3 kitchens that I have to do the same thing and then duplicate it so that my customer who are used to going across the bridge or down the street don't look back and say, this one is better than that one, or this one missed it. So yes, we gotta pour until we hear the ancestors say stop. But my unique challenge that I found myself with is we don't all have the same ancestors. You'll walk into my kitchen and you see different people from different ethnicities cooking, but it comes out tasting the same way. Because what I had to do, I spent at least 7 months on trial and error trying to duplicate myself so that I don't get burnout. Because I don't have family here. I cannot say, okay, I'm not going in today. My son or my daughter or my brother or my sister will go in. I have to depend on employees to do that. So we had to develop systems. A lot of time on the clock, people just watching it done, wasting a lot of food. Well, using up, as in people test cooking until now we got 4 people that are almost like me. Now, I think the initial reason you asked the question is sequence for putting in ingredients and methodologies and all of that. I did a lot of copy. I have an aunt, for instance, who she runs a restaurant in the Turks and Caicos Island. I've stolen a lot from her. And if she changes, I change. Because that's my closest aunt and the best cook in my family. Probably one of the best Jamaica has ever seen. She does operate a multi-cuisine restaurant in Turks and Caicos Island. So she knows spices. She knows how to blend and all of that. For me, as I said, it's hard to get. You can get stuff here, but picking it up in the store, even if I pick up something in the store, just as Mary said, it has to be twisted. A lot of Jamaican food require fresh herbs, fresh spices. It has to be fresh. It has to be blended according to your liking, according to your branding. So we always got to bear in mind what it tastes like back home, whose food you prefer back home, what do you want the customers to experience when they put your food in their mouth. There are a lot of things that comes out that you got to bear in mind, especially when you do what I do and go commercial. Like for instance, on a day like today, it's my day off, but business still got to continue. It requires a lot of effort, sometimes just throwing away a pot of food because it doesn't taste like granny one until people finally get it, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely, Dwayne. That was awesome. I just wanted you to bring to the audience that idea of what granny food is like. And granny food is like what we would say like street food, right?
Yeah.
Granny would just come to the kitchen and she would just pick up a handful of sugar and drop it in the pot and a tip of salt. And in fact, her recipe, my grandma's recipe, was exactly like that: a pinch of salt, a tip of sugar. It's never
I,
any of
I
this.
dash of this and a toops of that.
Well, you know the terms, right? And the food is consistently good. Right. So, if you're listening to us on the Baobab Tree today, we're talking soul food, a taste of home. And, we're excited here about the food that we eat because it really not only talks about us as an individual, it really reflects our culture. And so we have here with us Naomi, Faisal, Dwayne, we have Mary, and Brianna. So we're talking from different perspectives as well, from the Caribbean. I'm from South America, and we have folks from Africa. And so this is really interesting that, as we talk about these foods, we also discussed how the ingredients really matters. And all I can hear in the discussion is spices. Everyone is talking spices, and you talk spices, and it sounds like you're drooling, mouth-watering spices, right? So now we're in this context, this Canadian context. Are there any compromises in terms of learning a new to eat differently, learning the new ingredients? Have your palate for the soul food changed? What has happened over time? Have you changed the way you eat, and what has happened over time? Can some of you share with me? I'll start with Brianna.
Yes, I'm so excited to jump in on this. Randy, I have never craved food so much in my life. There is food around me, yes. Food is affordable at some places, yes, but I find myself being more inclined to spend money to buy the food that I'm craving. Like recently, I've been buying a lot of food from FTs, and Mary, I will be buying from you soon because I keep going on to Uber Eats or to Skip the Dishes, and I see your restaurants and I see the foods that I love, And it's like I want to stop myself from buying them because yes, the Canadian food is filling, but it does not satisfy my heart and my soul. It's not it's something that I would eat because you need to eat to survive, but at the same time you also eat for pleasure. I'm a self-acclaimed glutton. So so it's like I would find myself just spending on food. I'm really glad to have met Naomi though. She did make some really good food for me this weekend. So it's like I don't like that I'm spending more money, but then the Canadian food has just done that to me.
All right, Faisal, you want to jump in there on that? How has your taste for a certain food changed, and have you picked up a different taste?
Well, sometimes I feel like, especially when I come to Halifax, I just start to become way more athletic. So I just start to look more into healthy foods. One of the stuff that helped me in my cooking, I would say, is TikTok. You know, it just gives you different ideas, helps you become more innovative in like your cooking as well. And that's kind of the way I look at it. But for now or this semester, I would say I will try to discover as much, and it's kind of just more of like my time out period with food back home. So yes.
All right, thank you, Faisal. And Naomi, can you jump in there? Just tell us some of the foods that you just talked about, the foods that you love. Of your taste change over time? Are you comfortable with picking up some new soul foods or trying other flavors? Tell us what happened over the years you've been in Canada.
Well, specifically me, I'm a picky eater, and I don't necessarily like trying new things. I try to eat in my comfort zone. So I don't think that my taste buds has necessarily changed because I still eat foods, African food, so homemade food or home food. Um, I once in a while would eat some Canadian dishes, but it's not something that I would stay in my house and make. I would only eat that if I'm in a restaurant or I'm outside. But I want to say that my taste bud is literally the same because, as I said, like I'm a very picky eater, so I'm comfortable with what I know I eat, and I don't like to step out of my comfort zone to try and eat something else. So my taste bud is practically the same for me.
All right, thank you there, Naomi, Faisal, and Brianna. I'm not going to ask the restaurant owners that question. That question was to answer, maybe answer one of your concerns about whether or not your customers are going back and forth and trying new things. And we just heard 100% of the participants here says, I have the taste, the spices running in my blood, and I'm not going to change. So Mary and Dwayne, you continue cooking and adding the same spices you have been in the past. And you know, as you continue to cook, just look for those flavors that remind your customers more of about home. And these are all students, and students are coming and going through the university every year, and they're always looking for something that reminds them of home. And food is usually the thing that reminds individuals about home. You can see a flag or a map or an artifact of your country, and you just touch and you go away. But when you eat food from your home, or you know a place that sells the food that is of your home or culture or close to it, right, that makes people happy. And it makes your soul feels really good. So that's what soul food is all about. Again, you're under the baobab tree with us today, and we're talking soul food, a taste of home. And we have Brianna, we have Faisal, we have Dwayne, we have Mary and Naomi with us. And you know, this last question is just for us to reflect on some of the foods that we've had over the few years, and in Brianna's case, a few months. What has it done to you? Has it changed your whole mindset about wanting to go into a Canadian restaurant or staying home? I'll tell you what, if I have the choice of go to a Canadian restaurant or stay home and cook, there's an obvious answer to that. I will stay home and cook until I'm ready to eat, even if I'm really hungry. Not saying that the Canadian restaurants aren't good, but it's just not my palate. So how about our panels? It's just a reflection on what we all just talked about. Have you any further things to share about food and your soul food that you want to share with us today? Um, let's see who I pick on first. Brianna, how about you?
You love picking on me.
You're right here.
Yeah, but it's only been a few months, so I would say that it's been a drastic change in my life. And right now I'm in the process of just reconstructing my eating habits and what I'm accustomed to. The foods that I miss from home, like the yams and the dashin and the tanya and the edos, these are things that I would have to start making a distant memory until I do go home again. So I'm just trying to adjust to the new atmosphere, adjust to the new restaurants and dishes, and I'm very open-minded, so I will try new things. I eat any and everything as long as I'm not allergic to it. I would also eat it if it's capable of eating me, so I'm not scared to try anything whatsoever. But I'm just hoping that as I spend some more years in Canada, I do find some way of making it somewhat stabilize my eating, and just get a palate that I'm comfortable with and continue with that before I get too fat.
And Faisal, you want to jump in on that one for us?
I would say I'm just gonna just continue on my fitness schedule for now, and then later I would enjoy the food when I go back home for like Christmas maybe.
How about you, Naomi?
I think my answer is practically the same as before. I would prefer to sit at home and cook because I know what I'm putting in my body and I know what's in the food, and I'm more comfortable sitting at home and making food than actually going out to eat. If I'm going to eat outside, I'm most likely hopping onto Auntie Mary's Watch It every Sunday, or I'm going to FT's to have some jollof rice or a bowl of soup and some eba. So I don't necessarily go to the Canadian restaurants to like eat unless I have to, or I'm having friends over and we're going out to eat. But I honestly prefer to sit at home and make my dish, then go out and eat something else.
And for Dwayne and Mary, we do have many students, again, that comes through the university on a yearly basis. Just tell them where you're located and why it's important to continue eating the way they do. This is an opportunity to advertise to students because it took me many years to figure out where the foods that I love are located. So, Dwayne, you want to start with that one for me?
So we're located at 100 Highfield for Jamaica Vibes Express, and we are located at 5527 Cornwallis Street, also for Jamaica Vibes Express. And there's also One Love. So those are where we specialize in mostly takeout there. Takeout, you can sit down and eat, but it's not really fine dining. Now, for an experience, um, there is One Love Bar, one of our newest venture, and we just started serving food there. A lot of people don't know that we do because we haven't marketed it as yet because we're still in the training process for workers. But for fine dining, Caribbean, Jamaican slash Caribbean style, we will be doing that as of this weekend at One Love officially. So if you guys are on Instagram, which is where we do most of our marketing, or Facebook, you can look us up. Also, not just Jamaica Vibes Express, but One Love Bar and Lounge. So if you're looking for something to grab and go, or just a Uber to eat while you study, you can hit up Jamaica Vibes Express. But from Thursday to Sunday, if you're looking for a chill spot, you can get your Jamaican or African music or some jazz from down south. Whatever you fancy, you choose the night. One Love is the spot for food and entertainment.
Thank you, Dwayne. And Mary, can you jump in there for us?
Yeah, Mary's, we are located at downtown Halifax, 1701 Barrington Street. Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yeah, 1701 on Barrington Street. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and my advice to the student is that they should stick with their native food and stop eating the indomies, and the indomies and stuff is not our native food, so they should stop eating that and then eat proper food, because our food is not just a food. The spices and stuff we put in, it's a kind of a medicine that is good for the body too. So they should stop eating indomies and stuff and eat the real food.
Um, just, just if I'm allowed to jump on what Mary said,
Yes,
just
go
an
ahead.
example. We were closed for for a little bit, and I started to go out with friends and all of that jazz. And for some reason, I put on over 40 pounds just by eating out. Earlier this year, I decided that, you know what, I'm only gonna eat what I cook. I lost 37 pounds. So what Mary is saying is valid. Our spices and all of that, our bodies are already built from the molecular level, and anything else introduced to it. I'm not saying don't go experience other cultures, because I'll be lying if I say I don't. I like Italian. I won't knock it. I have the odd Chinese, the good one. I'm not saying other people's soul food is not good, because that would be remiss of me. However, based on how we are made up, based on how our bodies are trained from the cellular level, it only makes sense, as Mary said. You don't take a car that is used to running at 40 and decide, you know what, I don't have enough money, or it's more convenient, or this one is more expensive. What's made for the car is made for the car. It's the same with us. What our body is used to, yeah, you can go dabble in something else. It's enjoyable. Yeah, it's fun. But if your body is already used to breaking down certain stuff, introducing new stuff to it, at this stage of the game, young adults, especially when your body is already like, you know what, this is what I do with food, this is what is coming in, this is what I'm expected, and you switch that up, you're setting yourself up. Now, this is not marketing for me, or for Mary saying, you know what, only eat from us. But this is us looking out for ourselves. Just as she said, the Indonesian, a lot of those things fabricated. Not many people are going the extra mile to make sure that we got home stuff. The world is a capitalist world. Stay home. Keep it home.
All right, and that was some really good advice. It sounds even like an African proverbs, even if I may go that far. Well, we really enjoyed the conversation today about foods, and I know that soul food, a taste of home, would really appeal to a lot of people who want to know more about the way we eat in the African diaspora. So the restaurant owners have mentioned their addresses and things about their restaurants. We will have that on our webpage for you to find. But we hope that you have enjoyed this podcast today under the Baobab tree with us. We are excited to have as panel members Naomi, Faisal, Brianna, Dwayne, and Mary, and I as host, Randy Headley. It's been a really blast to be here with you today, and I look forward to joining you on many other journeys as we discuss topics that really affects the people of African descent and those who are living in Nova Scotia most specifically. as we journey along, learning more about ourselves and what we do to survive in this place. Thanks again for being with us under the Baobab tree, and have a good day.